I know you know how much I hate HOAs.
Yes. And I am learning to also hate them at this point. So,
Oh, it's so savage. So we have a video where we talk about why the board of directors can be really awful. And
yes.
that's just one of the reasons
Mhm.
that we hate HOAs. And we have another video where we talk about condos and why they fail to finance. And we go into detail there about litigation and lawsuits with HOAs. So that's another huge reason that we hate HOAs.
Yes.
So it's two big ones. But wait, there's more. But wait, there's more. More reasons we hate HOAs.
And the list goes on.
Because if you're having a problem with your HOA, who are you going to tell?
Everyone, but it doesn't matter.
Oh, yeah, there is zero. It looks like an okay sign. 0, 00 accountability for HOAs. No regulations. The biggest regulation that they have to follow is federal fair housing, which, everybody is beholden to that. And it's kind of a sad, low bar.
Right.
To not discriminate against people. Like, that's their bar for regulating HOAs.
Right.
All the HOAs are governed by state and local laws. That's it. But even so, like, I'm not sure that there's really any state or local regulations that really and truly alleviate so many of the problems that we see in HOAs. And honestly, I think a lot of these problems are contributing to what that market looks like right now, like compared to single family homes.
Right. Well, and even if so, that's not enforced either way. I don't feel like nobody's going to like go after it. I feel, you know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah. No.
They have so many other problems that they're dealing with anything having to do with the Fair Housing Act. Like the HOAs just do their thing. So
yeah, they do whatever they want. They do whatever the board of directors wants.
Yes.
Refer to the other video about the board of directors. So real estate is, I always say this, right? It's a long-term investment. Over time, you are almost guaranteed to get a return on your investment of some type, right?
Right.
Now, the truth is that if you're in a single family home, which some of them do have HOAs, some limited HOAs, but compared to like the condos and townhouses and their HOAs, a single family home appreciates a lot more quickly than condos and townhouses do. So even over the last couple of years, and again, it's tough to look at this stuff just a couple of years at a time because really it's a long-term investment. But in the last couple of years, you can see how single family houses have appreciated a little bit, but condos and townhouses have really been kind of struggling. They're on the struggle bus.
Right. Yeah, I keep looking at my stats of my condo. So I'm almost 3 years in, and my equity is just not really
not
getting much.
Yeah. Now, did you buy in 2021?
22.
22.
Mm-hmm.
So you are one of those people who bought at the top of the market. And you're going to be fine long term. I mean, it sucks because it puts you into a position where like you really kind of stuck there if you want to realize the investment part of it.
Right.
But almost anybody who bought in like 21, especially in 2022, a lot of those houses, if you try to sell them right now, you might not be able to, there's no equity to speak of.
Right.
You might be able to sell it for what you paid for it, but even after you take out closing costs and stuff, like you're under.
Right.
And I'm not even sure that you can price it at what you bought it for at this point.
I don't think I could. Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially without doing any kind of upgrades to it. Like, yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of the same condition as when you bought it. Yeah. So, and you were having some issues at your place. I know that you were kind of thinking about not paying the fee, right? To try to get some action.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so I was trying to get the HOA to get some stuff done because it was just I had some knee issues going on, so I was my crutches and trying to get them to, I don't know, clear some sidewalks.
Oh, yeah, because it was snowy and icy and you were on
Mhm.
crutches and you were trying to go upstairs.
Yep.
So that's an HOA responsibility thing.
Mhm.
They should be clearing the snow and clearing pathways.
And even this past winter, like, I mean, thank goodness I wasn't on crutches this winter because the snow that we have had, I don't even know that I mean, I did saw some clearing, but most of the snow was there for a very long time before it got cleared. And I mean, it's yeah, just
And
but
so
yeah.
that makes perfect sense that like they're not doing their job. I'm sure that if you looked it up, you would find somewhere that they're responsible for that,
Mhm.
right? So
Oh, yeah,
let's
I looked it
assume
up.
they are.
Mhm.
So they are. They're
Yeah.
definitely responsible for clearing snow off
Mhm.
pathways and stairs. So they're not doing that. So what recourse do you have? And the first thing you think about is,
Well, trying to see what the stipulations are, right, to, like, making a complaint outside of the HOA, but there's
nobody to call.
nobody to call.
So what are you going to do next? Call the board of directors.
Call the board of directors,
Call the property management company. So you
get
did
no
that.
response
Did that a few times. No response.
for
Great.
the most part, and then I'm like, "Well, what if I don't pay?
Yeah. Let's not
Because
pay.
then, like, you're not doing your job, why should I pay for it?"
Exactly.
And then
And what did you find out about that option?
that I'm still gonna owe regardless, and then I'll have to pay the fees, and then I'd have to pay this, and then I'd have to pay that. They can apparently foreclose on my condo, so let me not do that. Goodness gracious. So
Yes, this is something that people don't necessarily know is that an HOA can foreclose on you, just like a first mortgager or a second mortgage. So yeah, and in fact, I just had a call from a past client. They called me the other day and they were like, so I'm not happy about this, that, and the other. So I quit paying my HOAs because fuck them. And now I'm on my way to court tomorrow morning. And I was like, "Ooh," and this was the first I was hearing about the entire situation. I didn't even know this was happening. Because if they would have called me, like, early on and been like, "They're not doing their job, so how about if I just not pay them?" I would have said, like, "That's not even an option. You have to keep paying your HOA." Like, you just have to.
yes.
Because what'll happen is you owe it. Now you owe that plus late fees, maybe some interest, definitely attorney's fees. Definitely paying those.
Yes.
Like,
So all of the things that I read about it, I was like, all the comments about people asking the same question that I was just pay it and figure it out otherwise and say
pay it and shovel yourself.
yeah, pretty much. So I was like, okay, well, I guess I'm just gonna suck it up and deal with it and keep emailing and complaining and
And luckily, you're just not on crutches anymore. So, like, the problem has sort of gone away on its own, but that's not cool.
but I still have to walk through ice half the time when it's snowing.
Which is still dangerous even if you're not on crutches.
Yeah, 5 knee surgeries, it's time.
So many horror stories.
Yeah.
I've got 2 more just off the top of my head.
I had a friend visit and they slipped on ice because they hadn't cleared it. Yeah.
Yikes.
Mhm.
So that looks like a lawsuit waiting to happen. And
Yeah, but would that go anywhere?
well, if you won the lawsuit, like, what money would you get from the HOA? Does the HOA even have any money to pay a lawsuit?
That part. That part though.
So much terrible stuff. So
And then I'd have to pay more HOA, like, the bring up, they'd make it more expensive anyways, because they'll be like, "Well, now you sued, so now we gotta raise the HOA price for everyone." So
yeah, because the HOA, anytime it goes to court and has to hire an attorney, somebody's got to pay for the attorney because they probably don't have a lot of funds budgeted every year for attorney's fees
right.
for lawsuits that they hope aren't happening.
Yeah.
Oh, God. Yeah, the horror stories. The Lake House Towers at Sloan's Lake, that was construction defect lawsuit. Club Valencia, there was a fire over there, and it needs asbestos remediation or abatement. And we actually made another video with a bunch of information about litigation and lawsuits, how that pertains to HOAs, and you can find that in the condo fail video, the top 5 reasons that condos are failing to finance. But I know there's more. But wait, there's more. More reasons we hate HOAs.
Always more.
Special assessments.
Oh, good stuff.
Tell us what a special assessment is. Have you had one?
Not yet. Not quite.
Oh, but
I'm learning. Apparently, I'll be learning.
You were telling me you think you're ready to get one.
Yeah. So I haven't quite got it figured out just yet, because I haven't quite been told. I've kind of got a little snip from my neighbor, that we're in the process of that. So,
for what? Is it a lawsuit, or is it like repairs that need to be made?
The claim for hail.
Yes, because the insurance company is not paying the hail claim.
Yes.
Oh, yep. That's what's happening at Club Valencia. The insurance company is refusing to pay the claim. So the HOA, well, I don't want to get sidetracked on the litigation stuff because I know that we went over that before. But the special assessments, that's it's where basically the HOA has something that needs to be done that they're responsible for doing, usually a big ticket item, right? Because it's community wide, roofs, siding, hail damage, whatever it is. And they don't have the money to pay for it. And so they figure out how much it's going to cost. They divide it up amongst all the owners, and then they just send out a bill to everybody, and they go, you owe this so that we can do X project. And it's due by whatever date. And it's usually thousands of dollars.
So my neighbor got word that she needed to up her, with the property. What's the name of that? The portion that
Are
they
you
cover.
talking about an insurance thing?
Well, it has to do with this though, the assessment.
Okay.
So it's like part of the insurance, but it's to the what covers it from our insurance.
I think, Amanda would know this right off the top of her head, but it's like the piece of your insurance that's covering the master insurance policy deductible, and sometimes will it cover special assessments?
So she got told to up hers to up to $10,000.
And it covers a special assessment.
Supposedly.
Oh, well,
So this is what got told to her.
Okay.
So she told me. So I tried to call mine at my Geico people. And they were like, it's not going to cover it, even if you did up it, because it was a claim from 2023.
Oh, you would have had to have that on your insurance policy when the claim happened. Well, that's good to know.
But they said that hers was going to cover it or something. I don't know.
Yeah, these HOAs are struggling financially. So their financial health, this whole thing about special assessments, and that most of the people in the community don't have any control over how much it is, whether or not they're going to do it. So they can either do a special assessment or they can just up your dues. And the reserves. Are they putting away money for future costs? Or that didn't make sense. Are they putting away money for future repairs and future projects? Yeah, if they're not managing their reserve funds properly, then they're going to run into problems and have these special assessments and stuff. Did we already talk about the 30-year reserve plan and how? Because it's my opinion that like HOAs should be required to have a 30-year reserve plan, but of course there's no regulations.
What's the 30-year reserve plan?
So a 30-year reserve plan is this thing that is a financial strategy where you set aside funds for major repairs and replacements that you know you're going to need in the future. So like roof, plumbing, maybe replace an elevator. So it outlines how much you're going to need in the future at a specific future date to do that thing. And then it divides up and it says, okay, well, for that, we need to put aside X amount of dollars every month or every year. So that X amount of dollars every month or every year is coming as a percentage out of the monthly dues. So you have your monthly dues that pay for partly the operating expenses, but then also part of them should be going to a reserve. And that's not always the case. Uh, but yeah, so there's no requirement that these things have these 30-year reserve plans, but I think they're really necessary to make sure that the HOA is financially prepared for that kind of stuff. And then they don't have to borrow money. They don't have to, levy these special assessments on the homeowners. Nobody likes that. Oh, here's another great story. So there's an HOA that I was in where they needed the stairwells were concrete and crumbling. They were like literally crumbling. And the fire department had come in and said, we're condemning floors 2 through 4 if you guys don't replace the stairwells and all these railings. And we didn't have the money for it. This was the place where I had found out that like there was no board members on the board for several years. And then once we did get board members on the board, then they started turning through property management companies and like changing property management companies. And so they ended up getting a loan for over $1 million for this work that needed to be done. And thank goodness, I mean, they didn't do a special assessment, but it did like raise dues significantly, like over $100 a month.
Wow.
And I talked with a friend on Friday night who said that since she got into her condo, her HOA has tripled.
Wow.
A few years, because she got in around the same time you did.
Right.
In the last few years, her HOA dues have tripled.
I was afraid mine was going to. The first year it went up $50, and then it went up 40, and then 10 this year. So luckily it slowed down a little bit, at least so far.
I mean, it's nice that it's a one-time charge, but like just a lot of people don't have that kind of extra cash laying around. And so then you get forced into a situation where you need everybody to chip in and pay their part, but there's people who aren't going to be able to.
Right.
And when they don't, now we're having the attorney send collection letters. We're sending collection letters, then it gets moved to the attorney's desk. And then, eventually it could go to foreclosure.
Mm-hmm.
So it really adds a lot of financial instability to these places.
Right.
And it's 100% up to the board whether or not, when they need money, if they're going to up the dues or if they're going to do a special assessment. Completely up to the board, and whether or not they're able to get a loan. Because if they can't get a loan, they have to do a special assessment.
Right.
But if they can get a loan, then it's really just up to those, maybe 3 to 5, maybe 7 people to decide what's going to be best for everybody. And then you'll just get notified,
and then just have to pay it.
Ugh, okay, so we've talked about so much about why we hate HOAs.
Yes.
Whole separate video about the board. We talked about zero regulations. We talked about litigation, which is in the other video about why condos are failing to finance. We talked about how condos and townhouses don't appreciate at the same rate as single-family homes.
Mm-hmm.
I think the last thing, like the last really big reason why I hate HOAs is the rules and regs.
Yes.
I don't like rules.
No.
Those Karens we were talking about on the board?
Mm-hmm.
So one time when I moved into a townhouse in an HOA, I was greeted by a tiny Karen who lived next door. This girl was probably 7 or 8 at the time. That girl came over to let me know about what the rules were regarding seasonal decor and when I can have it out and when I can't. So you can only have seasonal decor out until 2 weeks past the holiday, and then it needs to be like, it was so specific. And it was like this 7-year-old girl, this 7-year-old Karen coming to tell me like when I could and couldn't have seasonal decor out. So you know, for somebody who's a rule follower, they probably don't care and they kind of like it. Oh, time to put my tree away. But for other people who aren't rule followers so much and are a little more loosey-goosey, maybe, I mean, the rules and regs are not so fun.
Very true.
But the rules and regs are different at every place.
Right.
The board can change them anytime, which is different from the bylaws because the bylaws require like some percentage of all the owners in order to change them. So yeah, so sometimes those rules, if you're in a place that has a ton of rules, it can start to feel intrusive and it can even cause conflict between neighbors. For what I just said, because you've got neighbors like, you're not supposed to do that. I'm going to tell on you.
Yes.
Do you have any of those?
Oh my gosh, yes.
It was your guy underneath you, wasn't it?
No, he was fine. He actually told me about the one neighbor that didn't just inform me that where the pull door, that it was on the other side of where you actually enter like the pool area. So I was trying to get in to the wrong door because there's a gate and there's like a door on the gate, and that's literally the only door you can see. But there's like the little building, like
that's right. This was like you had just moved in, and it was the first time that you were going to like check out the pool
and use like a little app to open the door. So I'm sitting here clicking the app, and like nothing's happening on this door, and she's just walking her dog. Actually, and her name was Sharon.
Rhymes with Karen.
Just saying.
If you like this video, if you like me, or if you just like supporting small business in our alternative lifestyle communities, then before you go, please don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and follow the channel.